We're back to this again, and it's now 2nd of January, so Happy New Year. I've done a bit of tinkering. I've got this starter motor off, which is poleaxed. It's going to be a new starter motor, and looking on eBay, it's be about 100 quid I think, which is a nightmare because I haven't got 100 quid really, not just after Christmas. But here we go, we've got this problem. Remember the bolt at the bottom of that bracket on the front? Well, there it is. The only way I could get it out in the end was actually to put a grinder cutter through there, either side, so it just dropped off. But I'm left with the bolt in there. Now, I've tried releasing oil, I've tried heat, I've tried persuasion, hence the hammer line over there, and the drift. Nothing seems to be happening, so the next thing to do is centre pop that and start drilling and pray that I can keep a nice straight line right through, because that's the only other thing I can think of that will work. If I can even just do a pilot all the way through there and then a bit of releasing oil, that might have heated up enough of the bolt and the releasing oil to actually shift it a bit and then knock it out. But it is straining me, and I don't want to be in a situation here like I was here when I took the clutch cable assembly out, because breaking that off pretty much terminates the engine, because if you lose a big chunk of that, you can see there's a bolt here which actually joins the top and bottom of the engine casing together, and I really don't want to be going through that. So yeah, this is going to take a little bit more care. He being the one who's just been beating the living daylights out of it. Anyways, we will pursue this and see how we get on. And I found an easier way of getting the engine back into the frame, and that is put the frame onto the engine. Whilst the engine's sat on the floor, the frame will slot over the top and some of the fixing bolts will go into place. Then I can put the swinging arm on at the back end, put the wheel in, lift the front of it up and put the engine stand under, ready for working on the rest of the bike. So yeah, hopefully that will work, and will make a bit of a difference in putting the bike back together. But right now we'll get on, we'll see what we can get done, and we'll get back to you. Bye for now. So we were talking starter motor, and here it is. And the first problem I had was these bolts here wouldn't come out. They were completely solid in here. Again, this aluminium to steel corrosion, and you can see what I did. I actually cut them in the end to get them off, and I've knocked those out to see if they would come out. Unfortunately, in the knocking, part of the casing went, which weakens that for putting it back in. I even tried getting a set of mole grips on there, and these still haven't moved. Short of locking those in a vise and trying to turn it, I can't see what would work. But the bolt that we had the problem with, which was in there, obviously I put this back together in the wrong place, was this little piece here. And as you can see by the top of there, when it focuses, it had a couple of contacts soldered onto it. So replacing that bolt was not going to be an easy task. I was hoping it was just something with a couple of connectors on there that bolt fixed through, and it also had quite a nice little seal around it as well. So that was not going to be an easy job to replace. Even putting this aside, if I'd got it apart and got that bolt out, with that sort of thing, I wasn't going to be able to replace it very easily. I mean, I could have done probably just a standard bolt, grounded down, put a little notch in it, and then tested my soldering. But I don't know how well I would have worked on it. The other thing I found was that the end movement on there was a bit excessive for my mind. Although we're still working, and there's a lot of distance on that, so maybe we would have gotten away with it. The brushes were also quite well worn as well, so this was going to be an overhaul job at the best, and I don't think I was up for that. And I think for an overhaul it's probably going to cost me as much as replacing the motor. So new starter motor, pain, but that's what we've got, so we work with what we've got, and that's what we've got. So there you go. We'll push on, get the next bit of work done, and see if we can get something that resembles a bike back together before the end of the year. Bye for now. Okay, so we are struggling. We have been working on this bolt for an awful long time, and because the engine's still sealed, there's no way the oil can come out of there, so I can lie it on its back. It's still not going to cause a problem, and leave some penetrating fluid in there to try and get that soaked. I have worked that down, I've drilled it, I've tapped it, I've bashed it, I've done all sorts. Same on the other end, so it's actually getting smaller, but it's not coming out, so I'm struggling with that. But you can see the underside here, you can see where the bolt runs through the casting, so it's not held in that many places, and for goodness sakes, I've taken the best part of that chunk out of it. So there can't be too much more left holding it in there. But it's going to take a bit more drilling and a bit more work, so we'll put a bit of fluid in there and let that soak and see what that does for it, and give it another go. In the meantime, we've turned our attentions over here. Taking off the top yoke is an easy enough job. The nut comes off there quite quickly and easily. Once the nut's off, this aluminium housing simply just sits on there. Now, because it's aluminium on a steel pin, again you've got the corrosion issue, so you've got to be gentle with this and tap it. I used a rubber mallet until it had lifted far enough for me to start working it by hand. And then this collar, which is threaded, you can see on the inside of there, goes onto the top, and this is the top seat for the bearing. That holds the bearing in place, and that then only takes a couple of taps with a drift into one of these recesses. You can get special spanners for them, but to be honest, if you're careful, a drift into there, and it literally only has to go about that far, and then you can run it off by hand. Once that's off, you can see here, this is the top of the bearing, and this was a roller bearing, and you can see what it was like, this thick with this grease, but this grease is so old that it's just a big lump, and there's no real lubrication with that. You can see in the seat up here where it's sat. If I get my finger into there, you can see there's no real grease left there. It's all gone hard, so it was never going to work very well. Now, I could redo that with fresh grease and put it back together, and it might be okay, but the modern taper bearings are so much better than these old roller ball bearings that it doesn't bear thinking about. The good thing with the roller bearings, you can't do any much with them, but the taper bearings, you can actually tighten them up. So when this starts to feel a bit loose, a few taps on that collar tightens up the taper bearing, and it lasts longer. So it's a lot better choice, in my book anyway. So others might turn around and say, oh no, but in my book it is. So whilst I've got the frame like this and I haven't got anything else happening because I need to get the engine back in, we'll take care of this. We'll knock this one off and put the new one in place. And it literally is, because we're at this point now, if you feel underneath there, you feel there's a lip on there. That's this seat sitting into its base. A screwdriver, long screwdriver, so a drift from the back, tap it up, and that'll lift that out, ready to place the new bearing in. And the same with the other end. Down through here, you can see a little bit of light through there. When you add a good look, you can get the yoke out of there, and you'll have the same sort of situation at that end as you've got at this end, and it's a drift in, knock it, and it drops out of place. This piece here will have to come off, and this might be a little bit more involved, or it could just be, I haven't had a good look at it yet, it could just be a knock off from the back of there, and it lifts it off a shoulder, and away it goes. But we'll push on, we'll have a look, and we'll see how we get on. Back to you in a bit. Right, one of the problems with different generations of bike is you get different generations of parts, and as you can see, that's not the right size. This is for the later generation of CM250, and it's not the correct one for mine. So fortunately, in town where I live, we've got a mechanic who's been working on bikes for an awful long time, and in his little store he just happened to have the right ones. Look at that. they've probably been sat in his unit for 15 years or more. And there they are, the correct bearings for there. So those two will go in and sit in there properly. And one of the tricks you have with fitting old bearings, new bearings in the seats, is you keep your old bearings, and what you do is you use the old one to sit over the new one and tap it into place. If I had a video stand from a video camera, I'd run it and show you how to put them in, but I don't have. The other thing you can use is make sure you use something like a rubber mallet. That way you cut down on the amount of impact that you're actually going to put to your parts, and you don't damage them as much. Yeah, nice and square. You tap them on one side, you tap them on the other side. Keep them going in square. If you keep going on one side, you push that side in and leave the other side sitting out. Nice and square. Or if you can put a piece across the top and hit the centre, and make sure that it keeps going down nice and square until it's snug. That's the key. So let's get these put in and see how we get on. Bye for now. One to remember is when it comes to grease packing a bearing, there is no easy way, there's no clean way, there's no simple way. The only thing you can do is you're getting your finger in there, into the grease, and pushing it into there. Once you've got that packed as far as you think you can, put it into the seat and give it a turn. And if it's pushing grease out along there, you know you've got it right, and then you just squeeze grease back in there to pack all that. So when you turn that, the grease is actually starting to come out of there. Push it in and you know you've got your grease, your bearing packed properly. That's the only way to do it. You've got to get it on your fingers. No two ways about it. You can't put it in with a machine or anything else. It's got to be your fingers, and it's got to be in there. That's that. Alright, have it. One packed bearing, and you can see how that's into every little crevice and crack everywhere. And as you turn that, if you get a hold of that and you can turn it, it's very difficult when it's packed, but you see that, you see how the grease is shifting there. That's a packed bearing, right? No two ways. That's the only way you can do it as well. Get it in your fingers. You can see my hands are covered in grease. The only way to do it, get it in there and get it going. Yeah, packed bearing, ready to go back on the bike. Not far off being ready. Bye for now.